So this is the HARVEY Turbo T60S. I got this just this week. I've only used it once so far. I have right now a 22, well, now it's about 20 inch. I've taken off all the bark, 20 inch round on here at the moment. The HARVEY T60 is a 24 inch by 48 inch lathe. You can put rounds on here up to 24 inches, just a little bit more than that. Gives you a little bit of working room. The T60 and the T40 both have servo motors. So this is the type of motor that you would find on a CNC. It's industrial, and they say that they work very well and they are very strong. It's 2 horsepower, but will give you up to 3 or 4 horsepower, I believe. Okay. Here's the pulley system for the lathe. You have the belt and your 4 pulleys. It's really easy to adjust, so you make sure everything is off. You can unplug it from the wall. You want to loosen up the handle right here, and then the motor lifts up, and then you can tighten it back down so it doesn't drop on you. Take it off the biggest pulley first and drop it down, and then wrap it around the next pulley. And then you can move this spindle to make sure that it's on. Once it's on, you can loosen it back up, tighten it back down just a little bit, push it down, tighten it, and then you should be able to push it in about in half an inch, 1/4 of an inch to a half an inch, they said, and you're good to go. So I'm probably just gonna leave mine on the lowest speed because I do a lot of bowls. So that's fine, just right there for me. Down here underneath the lathe is the electrical box, or the controller box. This has all the computer brains of the servo motor in it. It does take up quite a bit of room underneath. This is the old shelf that I used with my small lathe, my 12-inch lathe, and I had to cut it down and make it smaller. So I just kind of threw it together right now, so I have some storage underneath here. Underneath the lathe, if you would like to put something under here, like I have this table, you have about 35 inches of space in between the control box and the leg to put something underneath here. As far as underneath the lathe, we have about 27 inches. A little less than that because we have this little lip. Between the legs, I had to make a little podium here. I am only about 5'1", so I cannot reach this lathe. I am too short. The legs do not adjust. So I had to make a little podium here so I can actually reach everything. And there's exactly 48 inches in between each leg that you can throw something under. So between the floor and this little lip in the middle, you have about 26 inches of room to stick something in there. My table ended up being about 24 inches high to give me some room so I can stick some tools up underneath there. For those of you who are looking into getting a one-way coring system, the gap between the ways is 2.5 inches. So you need a 2.5 inch clamp block in order to use your one-way system. This lathe has also a control box that you can use on the other side of the lathe, so you don't have to reach around to stop or start the HARVEY Turbo. The only thing is it does not have speed control, so you do have to reach around for the speed control. So maybe someday they will come out with something that we can actually do that with, but right now there might be something technical that you guys are good at with the servo motor and speed control. I don't know. I'm not going to mess with it. It is magnetic here on the back, but these pads are actually kind of slippery, and it slipped off once already and scuffed my little red button. I was sad. So I need to clean it off. Maybe because it was greasy and that was why, but it just, with these pads on, actually it looks like they were glued on, even though this one's kind of coming off. Might take them off and put cork or something on there to make it so it's not as thick but still protective, and maybe it'll stick better. Okay, so here we have the stop button and the on button. You have the forward and the neutral and the reverse, and then your speed control right here. And then your speed control right here. And then your neutral and the reverse. And then your speed control right here. And then your neutral and the reverse. And then your speed control right here. 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 And then your speed control Once you have everything set up, you can press the on button. Oh, got to make sure that it's in forward. And press the on button and it will turn on. You can adjust the speed. And then off button to stop. One of the things that I did for the lathe and for my saw stop was to get a surge protector. This surge protector is rated for 220 volts and it plugs right in. You plug it into the outlet, let it sit, I think it's about 3 minutes until the green light stops flashing. Once it stops flashing, you can plug it in and you're all set. Usually I don't think about surge protectors for my shop equipment because they're not computerized, but both this lathe and my saw stop have computer parts in them. They have main boards that I have to worry about. So I went ahead and got this surge protector. It was on sale for $12. I've seen it also for $15. It was pretty cheap to get the two of them. So I'll put the link in the description below. Down here on the control box, on the power box, there is a switch that you can actually turn this and that shuts the power all the way off. There's a fan that runs in the control box while it's on. If you don't flip the switch, it just stays on. Even if you have this in neutral and you have it off, everything is still on so that you can hear the fan running and sucking in any dust or anything else that's in there. So make sure you turn that off when you need it off, and you'll see all the lights turn off. You can see right here the lights off, and then turn it back on, everything goes on. There's also a little spot here that you could put a lock in to keep somebody from turning it on, like one of your kids messing with it, which is really nice. Back here we have the spindle lock. If you pull it out and then around the other way, that is your spindle lock to keep your spindle from going anywhere. It works really nice. Everything's nice and tight, and it has graduation marks here. There are 48 different marks all the way around. It shows 0 to 360 degrees, and there's 48 marks. So you can calculate that to get how many each degree is. I'm not going to do that right now. I need pen and paper. There is a mark here on the back of the spindle. It is right there that you can use to guide you through each of the steps so you can keep track of where you are. I did accidentally turn the lathe on with the spindle lock on. It did not kill the lathe, but you can hear the gears, the belt slipping in there. Luckily I didn't turn it on very high. I was like, why isn't it moving? Dumb. So I've seen guys put little flags on here or add a little tiny handle to make it even easier to use this, like add a Fadook or even paint it red so then they know, if they see it turned this way because it's a bigger handle, that they know that it's in the lock position. So I might do something like that. Okay, so in the back here is the swing away tailstock, which is pretty awesome. I love this, considering that I've got a huge bruise on my arm just from lifting this tailstock up and installing it on the lathe. So it's pretty swollen and black and blue right now. I cannot put the headstock on here right now because I have it holding up my bowl, my charcuterie board that I'm making. But to operate it, it has a lever here, a lock, and then it just swings out and it goes all the way back so you can get your tailstock out of the way. In order to get full swing of this tailstock, you need approximately 18 inches between the edge here of the lathe and the wall. I was hoping that, I would have like 15 inches or so in between the middle of the lathe and the wall, but when I measured and set this up, I had to have at least 18 just to get the tailstock to go all the way around. So it's a little further from the wall than I had hoped it would be, but it's not too bad. I have limited room in my table saw is right here. So I need room to be able to not trip with this podium up here. The tailstock here has laser etched markings from 0 millimeters to, I think that says 10, and then from 0 inches to just over 4. I was kind of disappointed because it's laser etched, but this is really cloudy. It wasn't machined very well in here, and it's really hard for me to read it. So I don't know if it was just a flaw for mine or if anybody else's looks like that, but unless I look at it just right, it's really hard for me to read this. You know, right from here to here, the first, I don't know, 2 inches, I guess it'd be 2 inches of that, I can see just fine, but then the rest of it, it just wasn't machined very well. But it slides very well. The action on it is great. The wheel turns very easily. The banjo is really nice. It moves really easily. Mine is scraping under here just a little bit. I don't know if it's dirty. I will have to check, make sure. It could just be dirty, or maybe there's a burr under there, so I need to check it. The tool rest is nice. It worked really well. It looks like, though, that the paint is already chipping. So I've only used this once. All I did was take the bark off of this, and the paint is already chipping off of this. So I've seen somebody else that has the T60, and I noticed their tool rest was all silver. So it could be that the same thing happened and they just took all the paint off, or they have a different tool rest. I'm not sure. And the tool rest moves up and down really easily and is secured quite easily. There's a brass ring under here. All the handles on here, you pull them out and you can readjust them. So if they're in an area where it's not working for you and things are binding, then you can always pull it out and then move it and then tighten it up. It's really nice. One thing I have not done is figure out how big the tool rest is. Let's see. It is 25.6 millimeters. Or an inch. 99.99. Yep, it's an inch. So the tool rest size is 1 inch. If anybody wants to know whether the tool rest they already have or if they want to get one, if it'll fit, so it's 1 inch. Okay, the only other things that I could think of that somebody might want to know is there is a place underneath the legs for a board if you don't want to have an actual built table like I do. There is a place for a board to lay under there. About 53.5 inches is the length, and a 12-inch wide board. I'd go just under that, just in case, so you have a little bit of room, but about 12 inches is the room, the width of the space under there for the board. Also, when you put in the control box over on the side, there are only 3 bolts that attach this to the lathe, and they're M3s? I'd have to look, but anyway, they're already installed into the legs, so you can just screw it out just a little bit. There are keyholes on the mounting bracket of the control box that you could just slip it on and then tighten them down, and it'll hold it on there. Well, if you guys have any other questions, if there's anything else that you'd like to know about this lathe, it is a beast. It is gigantic. You need at least 4 guys to help you put this thing together. I did most of it on my own. I do want to thank my mom and my 14-year-old son and my husband for helping me out with the things that I just could not handle on my own. We had to rent a lift from we had to rent a lift from Home Depot for 4 hours so we could actually get the legs on this thing and move it from the outside into the garage, because there was no way. I mean, I thought maybe we could take the headstock off, but like you've seen, it was attached to the control box, and I didn't even know how much this headstock weighs. It looks gigantic. I don't know. So I didn't even want to try to take it off. So we just rented the lift. It was 60 bucks. It was worth it. So yeah, let me know if there's any other questions that you have that you'd like to know about how it works, and I'll be bringing out some videos on showing it hogging out some wood. But so far it's doing great. It's working really well. It's a huge upgrade from when I just came from my little 80-pound lathe. This one is over 700 pounds, almost 750 pounds. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any other questions.